So where can you go to in order to boost your financial and entrepreneurial skills taught by industry leaders such as Robert Kiyosaki to Danica Patrick? What is up, Money Tribe? Mike Damazo here to help you make sense of dollars. How You Money is a series of interviews where we explore people's financial journey. On this video interview, we have Dustin Mathews, host of the Get WealthFit show. That's definitely a tongue twister. So let's send it. So, Dustin, how are you?
I am fabulous. I'm excited.
Awesome. First off, I wanted to ask, how did you start in your financial journey?
Oh man, truth be told, it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. You ever read that book?
Yes, great book.
It's a classic book, but like here's the thing I just come to realize. I've went all in on entrepreneurship, and so I was doing eBay stuff, I was starting businesses, doing the online thing, built a business for the longest time, but like a key piece of my equation that I missed and I am learning now and getting better every day at is the personal finance. And what I realized, Mike, is that with the entrepreneurship thing, my mindset was like, I can just go build the next thing and just keep making money. But I was making like foolish money moves. Like I would just spend and spend and spend and not pay attention because I was always focused on more, go make more, go make more. And this is generally a good thing. But like if the boat has a hole in it, you ought to plug you ought to plug that. And so truth be told, Rich Dad Poor Dad was the one that got me into the money game. But really, joining the team here and the crew at WealthFit has really upped my personal finance game.
That's true.
Yeah.
And my next question would be, what is your number one money hack?
My number one money hack. It's not going to sound sexy. Is that okay?
No, but keep it real.
All right. So because like I was kind of foolish with money, and when I mean that, like I wasn't like just running around like just blowing money, but it was always like, listen, if it came to education, there's no price like I wouldn't pay, because like that's the one thing. They can take all this stuff away from us, right? All the tools, the resources, businesses, things like that, but it's the knowledge you always take with you into the next thing or in your life. And so for me, I just kept going and building, and so I needed to get present. Like my money hack was to actually on a daily basis look at my finances. And Mike, like I hated looking at spreadsheets and numbers. Like in business, like growing businesses, I would look at the numbers I needed to know from a cash flow and payroll and all that sort of standpoint. But in my own personal life, it wasn't that great. So my hack was old school. I downloaded all those cool apps, but it took me looking at all that, putting it in the spreadsheet and looking at like where every expense was going and then just working on getting it down. And so it's not fancy. And I think there's something to be said for that, because like you got all these cool apps now, but like it's kind of easy to get sucked into the wizardry of them and the graphs and all that, but you don't truly understand. So it took me taking info from those, putting it into a Google Doc free spreadsheet and just tracking old school.
Just tracking expenses and everything like that.
Because I had never done that,
Gotcha.
I had never done that. And I think, Mike, like my father, I always remember him like doing it on paper in the back room. And I'm like, man, I wish I had just paid attention to him doing it, because he had like budgets and things like that. But I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to build the next thing, sell it off and make a bunch of money and not worry about it, which was very foolish thinking.
I got you. You mentioned earlier that Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, is there anyone else that's an inspiration or influence for you when you were learning all the personal finance and getting WealthFit?
Getting WealthFit. Yeah. I've been fortunate to interview him, Rich Dad, on the show, on the Get WealthFit show. In terms of everyone, other people, I think everyone we can learn from. And I think a mistake people make is to say, well, I can't learn from them, or, they're kind of like, where I was, 5 years ago. And you can learn what not to do from people, and you can learn, like, you can relearn like foundational stuff that you may have forgotten. And so in terms of like big inspirational folks, I want to give a little love to one of my marketing mentors, business growth stuff. That was Dan Kennedy from the marketing world. And then in the personal finance world, I mean, I'm reading all the classics right now. I'm reading Grant Sabatier's book, Financial Freedom. Man, just interviewed Christian Bryce, Quit Like a Millionaire. Like, man, they're amazing. I'm fascinated by everyone's story. And so I can't say there's one yet in the financial arena. All of them are part of, the inspiration to me.
Definitely. I love everyone's specific story. Everyone's story is different and everything. definitely a voice to be heard for others. My next question is, name one thing you choose to spend extravagantly on.
Education.
Education?
Yeah,
Okay.
education. And probably second, if it weren't that, would be like let me say education, like personal growth related stuff. So seminars or books, anything that I think like can go into my brain and like I'm going to figure out how to leverage or monetize in some way or help me grow like in an area of my life. Like that's invaluable. Probably second would be food.
Nice. Yeah, well, San Diego, there's so many good food places. What is the best advice you've ever received?
You know what? This is tough. Like I think like the best is a tricky one. I think people coming in and out of your life and they give you advice and it hits you at the right time. So when you asked me that question, like I think the biggest one recently is stoicism, and it's not like a person specifically. Although I did read Ryan Holiday's "Ego is the Enemy and Obstacle is the Way," and then I deviated into other works. And so, why is it the best piece of advice? Probably as a follow-up, because it really taught me to detach from my ego. In my prior businesses, like it had to be Dustin. Like I had to be out front. I had to be growing. I built it around me, and that's just a job. There's no freedom in that. And so stoicism really teaches you to analyze life and see and look at what's important and to kind of prep yourself sort of in a negative light, like to prep yourself for the worst case scenario. And if you do that, then as you go through life, it's never as bad as you fear it is, and it's never, as great as we want it to be or project on our spreadsheets or whatever, somewhere like in between those things. And so the biggest piece of advice or the biggest body of work for me that I highly recommend to anyone, whether in personal finance, entrepreneurship, or just life, stoicism, big time.
I love that.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back with you mentioning, like in the beginning it was all Dustin. Yeah. It was a lot of content you've created from the beginning to now. Yeah. I'd like to know, what was your favorite piece of content you've created? Through the years? I don't know.
This is a good question. Yeah. So kind of like my little backstory here, been entrepreneurial, started a couple like products and stuff online, got real into business for about 9 years and built one and exited that business. And I didn't exit like Silicon Valley, Hollywood, Dustin can go buy like a yacht. That wasn't my story. And so after exiting, after waking up one day and saying like, this isn't the path I want to be on anymore, I took time off, and then I joined the crew here at WealthFit. My two other partners, Andy and Justin here, they just launched it, so got behind it. And so one of the first things that I did, well, maybe not the first thing, but like after a couple months of kind of figuring out this personal finance journey, this game, like what we're up to, I wrote the piece that kind of brought closure to why I walked away from that previous business. And it's a piece for people that struggle with like, when is the time to quit? And a lot of founders have a lot of challenges because like entrepreneurship, like you're going to get stuff thrown at you. Obviously, if you quit early, like you're not going to make a great entrepreneur, but then also too, you don't want to be hanging on to that last thing and go down with the sinking ship. So like, how do you find that? And so I wrote a piece that went pretty viral to my community because everyone wanted to know like, what is he doing? Like what's going on now? And it was real and it was raw, vulnerable. And so it's basically why I quit my own company. And that's a piece I wrote for WealthFit.
Wow, I'll definitely have to put that in the link in the bio and everything.
Yeah, please do.
All right, so next will be like the closing questions. Yeah. Who are you interested in seeing how you money?
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by the athlete. That, or the entertainer that comes into a lot of money, and not the ones that, although it's interesting to me, the ones that get it all and then lose it all. I'm interested in the ones that transition. So the ones that do get some sort of, compensation, big compensation, sign big deals or whatever, but then they take it and then they move it into other areas. So an example I was fascinated by was Danica Patrick, recently retired. She's got like 5 or 6 like entrepreneurial endeavors going on. So transitioning, because I think all of us, we have to transition at some point in our life. Like that's just the story of humans. Like we transition, we reinvent. Some fight it and some really embrace it. And so I'm always curious about that. In particular, like who would be one? I like the story of someone that, loses it all. and then has to come back and rebuild. So maybe potentially like a great thing would be an athlete that's made a lot of money, lost it all or spent it all, and then had to build themselves back up. And so I'm always fascinated by it. So I would be interested to see on your show Magic Johnson come on your show.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, because he made a lot of money, back in the day doing basketball, but like he's legit in terms of parlaying that now into he's got like a big business empire, and I imagine he now makes more money than he made maybe lifetime in his career. If you don't count like he probably invested some of that. I would be fascinated to see how he monies.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. It's super huge. So my next question for Dustin, what are you up to?
Living life, man. Mike, I'm just learning every day. We're growing the biz, and if folks are interested to know what that is, it's just courses on it. So you read an article, that's good. You hear a podcast, but some people need tactical, step by step. What do I do? What bank accounts or pay the highest interest? What's this life insurance all about? So we're building courses here at WealthFit, finding experts to come in and teach, and then we offer that as education. So it's all things, getting that message out to the world. It's a message I wish I had when I got started, especially on the personal finance side, because I got I was very fortunate to get that entrepreneurial message from Rich Dad, but for some reason I didn't pick up that personal finance. And so I think that combo with investing, that's what we're about at WealthFit. And so it's speaking, it's podcasting, it's creating articles, it's finding the next cool trainer to come in and create that course for us. So
awesome. And where can people find you?
They can find me on all the social. I'm sure we can link it up in the show notes. I would say like the best place for if you were intrigued by this little story, then I would say check out the Get WealthFit podcast, and that's getwealthfit.com. Redirects you right there. You can look it up, wherever. And if you're interested in a course or two, we give away a free one. Check out wealthfit.com/Dustin. And what that will do is give people access to Wealth Building 101, which is like our flagship foundational. If you're on this journey, you got to know what's inside this course.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And all those links will be down on the description below. Cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Boom.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to gently tap that thumbs up, sound off in the comments below what you thought. Lastly, high five that subscribe. Stay legendary, and I'll see you in the next video.